YouTube? Welcome back to another video. A long time ago, 2009, something like that, the 1 o'clock lab band at UNT put up a video of them playing, I believe it's called The Last Theme Song, written by Steve Wiest, and I pronounce it Wiest because that's how I assume it's pronounced. And Matt Jefferson of Maniacal 4 fame is playing the bass trombone, the second bass trombone part, because there's two in lab bands. And there's a bunch of spots where they have pedal C sharps. I think they're C sharps and not D flats in this tune. And it always kind of made me mad watching Matt play these C sharps because he was destroying them, but he didn't look like he was destroying them. He's just very relaxed. Just like absolutely just like chill face, nice easy breath, and just destroying these low C sharps. Pedal C sharps, not low C sharps, pedal C sharps. Something that at the time I couldn't conceive of. I felt like if you're making a noise like that, you probably should look like you're making a noise like that. There should be something involved other than nothing. It just looked like he wasn't even playing. It looked like it was fake almost. It's not fake. He's a very good player and he does play like that. And I feel like I've very slowly stumbled onto, I'm not going to call it a secret because it's not a secret, but just how you play in such an effortless manner. And I think a huge part of it, there are a lot of parts of it, but a huge part of it I've recently discovered is air pressure. I've talked a lot about air speeds and air volumes. So air speed, using faster airspeed to play higher, slower airspeed to play lower. Air volumes, you might use more air to play loud, less air to play soft. But something that has not come up a lot for me in my learning is air pressure. And here's the analogy I'm going to use today that I've been working on. This is like a workshop moment. It's not perfect, all right? So we have the air pressure that the instrument wants. That's here. And then we have the air pressure that you give the instrument here. And ideally, they just rest together, right? They're almost in equilibrium. When you play, this is happening. There's very little pressure being put on my hands together right now. They're just kind of resting together. The pressure you need to play is not very much. It's that. My eternal problem is this. My pressure over here, doing this. Pushing on the pressure of the instrument. Always just a little bit of force, especially on attacks. Da, 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 da. And that means you're having to use muscle and stuff to hold back that air pressure. It's very tiring on the chops. It's very tiring on the air apparatus, like your abs pushing out air. It's tiring in a lot of ways. I used to finish sets at work and my voice and throat would be tired. And I'd be like, I haven't been talking, I've just been playing. And that's because they've been resisting the air. The pressure had built up in my body to get out, and I was feeling it kind of like reverberating back to my body, like everything's getting like inflated as I play. And the ideal, again, is just this. Just this nice, easy pressure. When we breathe in, obviously, there's no pressure, you're breathing in. And then that pressure just nice and even against the instrument starts. Duh. Of course, the other problem, I've run into this too as well in the past when I didn't really trust my face. If I used too much pressure, my face would just collapse. And I would lose my embouchure set and notes would airball because it couldn't hold back the air. And so what I would do instead is kind of this, like, use just barely enough air to play. And I got really used to doing this as well. So I've been on both sides of the spectrum of not using enough air pressure, just barely touching, and then using way too much all the time. Another analogy that might work for you. Do I have a prop I can use? All right, pretend this box cutter, I'm going to keep the blade away, is a candle. The candle's burning. It's just burning merrily away. And what you want to do when you play is when you blow on it, you're blowing that flame away, but you're not blowing it out. If you're blowing it out, using too much air pressure. And of course, this can be construed a lot of different ways. You can feel like your air speed is really high. You can feel like you're using a lot of air. For me, those things are on different dials on the same machine, but the air pressure one has been turned up a lot for the last couple of years. And now I'm finally learning how to turn that down. I have a very good ability at doing that, at using really high pressure really fast. Probably stuff that I learned from breathing gym and drum corps and stuff like that. It's very focused on that like extremely direct exhale. I was really good at that, and I've kind of held on to that that skill. It's not a skill I need to have. When you play really loud in an orchestral context, you're not using that kind of air pressure. Using, again, just this very easy air pressure with a lot of air. It's a very different feeling, and it's taken me a while to figure out how to use a lot of air without pressurizing out of me. Again, the biggest problem with using all this pressure, and again, it's not pressure on the face, it's pressure of the air, is that your body has to resist that in order to play. So, for instance, I can play B flat-ish, it was very sharp probably, by using a lot of air pressure. Really pushing against the instrument, pushing against the ambient air pressure, kind of like trying to raise it on my own. I can do that. But if I slow down the air, if I use way less air pressure and work with the instrument, the instrument responds instantly. It sounds way better, and it's a lot less effort overall. Like my inhale can be like less. I can just kind of use less air to play. My chops, instead of having to hold that air back in order to not just totally airball, in order to not do that, my chops can just kind of be at rest. There's not a lot of like engagement happening. There's some, enough to keep things in the right spot. And that's it. That's all I really have to do. If you do this for a long time, of course, you'll still get tired. Like nowadays, my chops kind of last all day, and I feel my corners start to burn. But I'm not getting tired in the way that I used to, where my entire body and my face would just be completely trashed because I'm working at going at holding back all this air this whole time. I bring this up because I feel like there are a lot of people on both ends of the spectrum that are not aware of it. People who are constantly trying to blow their sound down, either by this analogy or blowing out their candle, or people who are just barely using enough air to play because their chop setup doesn't really allow them to do anything else. I would advocate you experimenting with this yourself. The best litmus test I have for using the correct air pressure is a really simple one that I heard my teacher do a lot. And it goes like this. Just using legato, kind of like 16th notes. So it was in 3 and I conducted in 4. Very easy, just going through the partials up and down. 16th notes, 2 16th notes on each note. When I started doing this, I literally could not play that. I would go and one note would not speak on like every single note. The top partial would sometimes just not come out at all. And I'm like, this is the easiest exercise of all time. Why can't I do it? So I spent a lot of time figuring out like oral cavity and like where I'm tonguing and like sound concept and like trying to relax, all these different things. And it really just turned out that I was just over pressuring everything. And that makes the articulation really difficult when you're trying to play soft. Hello, Fly. Welcome to my video. When you try to play soft, the articulation is trying to hold back all this pressure of air. And a lot of times when you release that, it just blows the chops apart, even if they are set in the correct spot. And so that note just doesn't come out, and it makes playing soft so difficult. That's why I spent a lot of time playing soft in like the last kind of years because I'm like, I know something's wrong with it. I don't really know what. And it really just turns out it's that air pressure. Just always using a little bit too much. This applies to probably every brass instrument. I'm going to say it works on every low brass instrument I've applied it to. Tuba has gotten immensely better. Just taking the foot off of the gas of that pressure, it feels really good now. I can play a lot of stuff that I could never play before without getting tired really quickly. Tenor trombone, which I play a lot of, I played at work. I felt pretty good about it for a while. If I take the foot off of the pressure accelerator, again, that feels way better too, and it feels like I can play louder because I'm actually using more easier air instead of trying to press through the instrument, just trying to blow it down all the time. Lots of different ways to work on this. Maybe I'll come up with more exercises later. This applies to every range. I honestly haven't spent a ton of time working on my high range in this manner, but just because I've been working on bass a lot. But I spent some time in the last couple of days kind of like playing tenor trombone and being like, oh, if I don't over pressurize these notes above like high B flat, they come out so easily. High D, for instance, has been just like the hardest note for me for all time. And I'm like, I'm using a lot of air, I'm using fast air, and I'll always miss high D. But if I take the pressure out of it, I can use fast, high quantities of air, and the D comes out like 9 out of 10 times. So I'm going to spend some time on that. The low range, obviously, is just a lot easier this way. I really want people to experiment with this and try it because it's made such a huge difference for me. Turn down that air pressure, or turn it up if you're one of these people, just barely using enough air to play. Find that spot where you're at equilibrium. The horn and you are in the same place. It feels so good when they agree. And every instrument's going to be just a little bit different. When you're playing a dual bore bass trombone, that, you know, the air pressure, I can't really speak to that exactly, but the speeds and the volumes changed based on when you're playing dual bore bass trombone or something like this with a single bore, but like a very narrow throat mouthpiece, or tenor trombone or contrabass, or you're playing tuba. That equation changes where the horn wants to be and where your pressure needs to be. It changes constantly depending on what instrument you're playing. And this really helps me, in the last couple of days at least, find that very quickly on these doubles. How does this horn want to be pressurized? And usually, for me, it's less than I have been doing. That's all I got for now. I can ramble about this for a while. I've been thinking about it so much. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.